Hey, let's welcome back to the microphone Dr. David Klein of the Stages of Life Institute in Longwood. A real pleasant drive from anywhere in Central Florida. And today we're going to be talking about something that you're probably suffering from, and this time of year brings it around. Well, let's say that your eyes are burning. Let's say your nose is running. Let's say that you park your car outside for a number of hours and you see all of this powder all over the car. Look out in your swimming pool and your fountain and you'll see this green or yellow residue on the water. Imagine what that is doing when you breathe it in, and all of a sudden allergies and sinus problems, and the doc can take care of you.
Okay, welcome to Florida. Okay, those of you that are new, you're going to think that you know what hay fever is all about. You're going to think you understand what allergies are all about. You came down here for the weather. The skies are beautiful. However, those trees, those bushes, those plants, even the grass, they have their eyes on you. You are targets now. Okay, and how do these plants mate? They mate through the release of pollen. Hits the air, and this is a loving state. We have lots and lots of pollen floating around in the air. If you don't believe it, take a garden hose just to the outside windows of your house. Just rinse off the windowsill, and you'll see this yellow-green slime. It just comes right off. That used to be part of the mating season of your palm trees or your oak trees, or God knows what it is. We have a season for everything here. And to everything else, it has a season as well. So what does this do to you? Well, the first season that you come down here, probably nothing. You won't even experience it. You're going to think you got off easy. But the way allergies work, people become sick due to repetitive exposure. The first time that you took penicillin wasn't when it made you allergic. It was probably the third, fourth, or fifth time. The same thing is true with sulfa bee stings and poison ivy. People rarely have an allergic reaction to things the first time. And then each subsequent exposure over a condensed period of time, the exposure results in an increased response. Okay, well, if I have another peanut, I might die. Well, guess what? You shouldn't be eating peanuts anyway. They make you fat. However, the pollen will not make you fat, but it will make you miserable. Hang around long enough, it'll make you sick. When you breathe this stuff in, it will deposit on the inside of the bronchi, usually not that quite down that far. It'll end up in the bronchus or bronchioles, and then it causes an allergic reaction or an inflammatory response. Your body will clear it. So what happens when you start coughing, sneezing, and so on and so forth? And this is where people get into trouble. This is where the rubber hits the road, if you believe the old Firestone ad. And what happens is people go, well, gee, if I'm coughing junk up, I need something to dry it up. So I'll take an antihistamine. Well, Einstein, you just did exactly the wrong thing. Your body is doing a histamine degranulation in order to cause things to loosen up a little bit so you can cough them out. If you dry up these secretions, you can lead to pneumonia. It's a real problem. Okay? Drying agents are not necessarily what you're looking for. What do you do when you end up with a sinus congestion? Okay, you cough, sneeze the stuff out. You don't take a drying agent to retain the sinus secretions. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's like having a boil. What do? You want the boil to go someplace else. You don't look for ways to keep the boil in, now do you? So you now have an allergic reaction of a sinus nature or of a bronchitis nature. You're coughing and sneezing. All you really care about right now is what do I do to fix it? So I'll cut to the chase. First thing you want to do is to loosen the secretions up. If you loosen them up, you can get rid of them. If you don't loosen them, they cause issues. You take something called N-acetylcysteine, which is NAC. I speak about this stuff a lot. It's an amino acid. The stuff is marvelous. Your body converts it into glutathione, which is the granddaddy of all antioxidants. Guess what? Okay, there are many beneficial aspects and results of taking N-acetylcysteine. But the one we're going to focus on here is the fact that it's a mucolytic. It helps you cough the garbage out. You add something to it, okay, and this is sort of a neat one. And what I use is guaifenesin. Now, you'll know guaifenesin by the brand name Mucinex. I use the generic because I'm cheap. And I take the two together 3 to 4 times a day with a bunch of water, and all of a sudden, those secretions start to come out. And you'll go, well, gee, I don't really want to be blowing my nose. I'm thinking, man, that there are wise and there are unwise. You don't fall into the former category. You want the secretions to be gone. Once they're gone, the body can then deal with the inflammation. So you have sinus issues. Guaifenesin and Mucinex combination is marvelous. But what can you do to push it out? Okay, you don't sniffle it back in. You told your kids not to sniffle because they'd get sick. You were smart. Now learn your own lesson here. So what do you do to get the stuff out? Kleenex works fine. Okay, that's nice. But if you take a little bit of peppermint oil and stick it on the roof of your mouth or under your nose, it will stimulate the sinus in such a way as you'll start to kick the mucus out. Very, very important. What else can you do? Now, we're not looking at antihistamines here. We're going to look at something called quercetin. Now, quercetin is cool stuff. It's an odd anti-inflammatory that's extraordinarily helpful for individuals with allergies. Quercetin is magic. Marvelous stuff. So quercetin in combination with the others is something that you really want to be looking at. So respiratory tract needs to be kept clear. Out she goes. What other anti-inflammatories might be useful with regards to these allergies? MSM, methylsulfonylmethane. It's an antioxidant. It's also, oddly enough, a free radical scavenger. It couldn't be any better. You're taking your medications in such a way as to assist the body in clearing these things themselves. Antibiotics are a real problem here. Why? Because if you take the antibacterials for sinus issues, you can end up with a fungal overgrowth. You end up with fungal sinusitis and all hell breaks loose. It can be a lifetime to clear these things. Your ears. Well, I've got wax built up in my ears. I feel like something's stuck in my ears. So what do? You stick a Q-tip in there? Well done, Einstein. No, you don't want to be packing it like an old muzzle loader. You know, the muzzle loader, you poured black powder down the barrel and you shoved a ramrod down there to tighten it up. That's what you're doing with the Q-tip. All right? Don't use the Q-tip. Don't use any bobby pins either. What you do is you take something called mineral oil. You get an eyedropper. There's little things that used to be sitting on a medicine dropper, you might know it as, and you fill it up with a little bit of mineral oil, and you go into the living room. Turn on the TV, watch something other than Oz, and you put a drop or two into the ear. Put a little piece of cotton in and let it sit for 10 minutes. How do you know it's 10 minutes? Next commercial. As soon as you go, you turn over to the other side, put a little drop in the other side of your ear. You have 2 ears, piece of cotton, and now all of a sudden it will start loosening the wax up so it will irrigate out. Loosens it up. You want the wax out, but you don't want all of the wax out. That wax is there to protect your ear canal. It is not a nuisance, but sometimes, especially as you get older, it's a little bit too much. Do you need Debrox? No. Mineral oil. Okay, it's $1.50 for crying out loud. You'll buy one bottle, it'll last you the rest of your life. In fact, you could probably leave the balance of the bottle to your grandchildren. It'll be around so long and is very, very stable.
Now, what do we have in the store that we can pick from? Quercetin, I already use. I had sinus issues like crazy.
Good stuff, isn't it?
A lot of pain, a lot of discharge, and you start using that. I also use the peppermint against the top of my mouth. Health food stores have that. But what else do we have that we can really use to help us out with our allergies and sinus in the nutraceutical store at Stages of Life?
We have a product there that's got several of these things in it. It's very convenient to keep around. It's marvelous for kids, but it works for, as they say in the big, what do you call it? Children of all ages. You may not hear too much of that anymore, will you? Okay, so Aller 7, marvelous stuff. But because I'm a frugal guy, what I will do is I will add additional quercetin to it because it's cheaper to do it that way than it is just to take more of the Aller 7. So we use Aller 7, we use quercetin, we use N-acetylcysteine, and typically I send people to Costco to get the guaifenesin because it's cheaper there than any place else I've ever seen. Marvelous, marvelous way to do it. MSM topical, you don't want to use, but you do want to use mineral oil topically. Again, go to the corner drugstore. They've got to be good for something. Okay, go in there, get your photos taken care of, buy your mineral oil, but we're going to try to keep you off the antibiotics.
The more we're on the air together, the more I'm discovering that NAC is a must-have.
It is a Band-Aid. It's one of those things that you should have in your medicine chest because if you don't need it today, you're going to need it sometime in the next couple months.
I mean, good for the sinuses, good for the liver, good for the gallbladder, good for about everything.
Good for the pancreas. This stuff is interesting. N-acetylcysteine is what, if I had to pick 3 or 4 things and I was on a desert island, N-acetylcysteine would be one of them. It's a gram-negative antibiotic. It's useful for bronchitis, for crying out loud. Good stuff.
Very good. Now, how would we get to the Stages of Life? Maybe we want to become a patient of the good doctor. Maybe we just want to peruse throughout the store. And there's some other services available as well.
Right. There's so many options at Stages of Life. You can find us on the web at stagesoflife.net. Give us a call at 407-679-3337. You can also come on in. We are located in Longwood at 1917 Booth Circle. That's right off of I-4 and 434. Office hours are Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5. And we are also on Facebook at Stages of Life Medical Institute.